A 134-page indictment against Messianic apologist Michael Brown, released last Friday, may be the most damaging report yet on the Bible teacher's sexual misconduct with his former secretary. With new allegations on sexual and spiritual abuse, cover-ups, and complicit leaders, including Brown's wife, Nancy, the bombshell report is calling for Michael Brown's permanent removal from ministry. Mike Brown is presently and perhaps permanently unfit for any position of church or ministry leadership, the Michael Brown Witness Report states. Neither should he be teaching at any level at this time. That is our position. We therefore call on fellow leaders to insist that he step down from all leadership roles. Brown used to lead the Brownsville Revival School of Ministry in Pensacola, Florida. He then founded the North Carolina-based Fire School of Ministry in the early 2000s during the time he engaged in sexual misconduct. The new report is signed by Ron Cantor, Bob Gladstone, Keith Collins, and Mike Lubanovic, representing a larger gathering known as the Witness Group. This latest broadside refutes a recent report by an elder accountability team appointed by Brown's Line of Fire board that exonerated Brown. Cantor is president of Messianic-themed Shalanu TV. Bob Gladstone and Keith Collins are former Fire School of Ministry leaders, and Mike Lubanovic is a former Fire Church pastor. It was our hope that we would not have to release this, but seeing that some members of the body of Christ have seen the EAT as exonerating Michael Brown, we have no choice but to release all the evidence and our conclusions, the witness report stated. Meanwhile, Jonathan Burness, the only Line of Fire board member on the EAT, has resigned. I have stepped off the LOF board due to health and family issues, Burness emailed the Roys report Monday. I know Dr. Brown has brought on some new, really capable board members to serve going forward. Brown has not responded to TRR's request for comment. The report includes previously unreported material about accusations that Brown swatted his former secretary, Sarah Monk's, rear end, kissed her, held her hand, and allowed her to sit on his lap in the early 2000s. There are testimonies, documentation, and recordings by 25 people that include but also go beyond the sexual misconduct allegations. New allegations include a witness found pornography on Brown's phone in 2017 and 2018, refuting the EAT's claim that Brown's record was clean of sexual misconduct allegations after 2002. In late 2024, Brown told people that TRR was investigating him, but seemed to have prophesied that TRR wouldn't publish an investigation on him. TRR published an investigation last December. In November 2024, Brown contacted Tikkun Global, of which Cantor is a part, to complain that Cantor was trying to destroy him. Many lives are at stake, and I fear that Ron's own soul and future ministry is at stake, Brown reportedly wrote to Tikkun. Also in November 2024, Brown tried to do damage control and manipulate influencer and apologist Mike Winger into siding with him about an unjust investigation before TRR's initial December 2024 article, Winger wrote in a statement. Brown reportedly told Winger that someone planted false memories in Monk's mind. Nancy told a student that he wouldn't be able to graduate after he'd already spent 2 years at the ministry school because he had been homeschooled. When he got a homeschool association involved and threatened a lawsuit, Nancy and Michael chastised him, saying he was unbiblical and a Jezebel. Brown has returned to his speaking ministry with line of fire to both criticism and fanfare. This is despite a third-party investigation by independent investigator Firefly that determined Brown had engaged in sexually abusive misconduct with Monk and an inappropriate relationship with a married woman. The Firefly report also concluded Brown engaged in a calculated effort to evade accountability. Last week, Landon Schott and his Fort Worth-based Mercy Culture Church welcomed Michael Brown back into ministry with confetti and applause. Raleigh, Washington concludes. The witness report alleges the Firefly report left out key testimonies and didn't follow up on important leads, both of which the witness report included in their report. TRR reached out to Jim Holler of Firefly for comment, but he didn't respond. The witness report also refutes a 27-page recommendation report by the Line of Fire board-appointed Elder Accountability Team, EAT, that had rejected Firefly's conclusion of sexually abusive misconduct. The EAT reframed it as leadership misconduct instead. The EAT also praised Brown's response to confrontations and stated Brown adequately repented. In contrast, the witness report offered testimony and documentation that alleged Brown attempted to deceive, manipulate, and retaliate against people who inquired or confronted him over 2 decades. The 23-year effort to keep his actions from coming to light seems like pathological behavior, contrary to the standards for any believer, much less someone who regularly speaks of himself as an elder and father in the body, the witness report stated, and it was not adequately taken into account in the EAT report. Cantor told TRR he gave Line of Fire board member Jonathan Burness a copy of the witness report and asked that he share it with the EAT before publishing it on Cantor's website. The witness report calls for the EAT to bring in a previously promised trauma-informed expert to advise them and reconsider its recommendations that include restoring Brown to ministry. Dr. Brown needs to be in therapy, the witness report states. He needs help in understanding the damage and traumatic effects of CSA, clergy sexual abuse. However, Raleigh Washington, spokesperson for the EAT and former president of Promise Keepers, told TRR Monday the EAT already involved an anonymous trauma-informed expert. The EAT has no plan to make any changes to its decision to reframe Brown's behavior, leadership misconduct, rather than sexually abusive misconduct. The accountability team is sticking by what we have published, Washington said. We felt like what we did was right. It was godly. We feel like our definition of it better describes it than what Firefly said. Washington added that he believes Cantor convinced Monk that what happened to her was 10 times worse than what it was. I feel Cantor's done far more harm than good to Sarah, Washington said. Monk, who was 20 years old when Brown's misconduct allegedly began, scoffed at that idea. Mr. Washington, you are deeply wrong, Monk told TRR. You have no right to speak about my trauma and blame it on anyone except Michael L. Brown, the one who violated my trust, touched my butt, and kissed me. That is the one to blame, not the voice who has advocated for victims. Similarly, Cantor called Washington's comments highly irresponsible and lacking any level of empathy for victims of abuse. That statement alone should disqualify Raleigh Washington from being on Mike's eldership accountability team, Cantor said. He clearly does not understand abuse and its paralyzing effects. Cantor called Washington's statement misogynistic and dishonoring to Sarah. It belittles her as a woman and a survivor. It took some man to tell her how bad things really were. I'd love for him to explain how a girl who at 19 years old was on fire for God left fire school 2 years later in the aftermath of a sexually abusive relationship, backslidden and broken. It's almost like he's saying, it's not like he raped you, get over it. Cantor also added that by the time he met Sarah in early November 2024, she had already disclosed Brown's alleged abuse to many people. All I did was write down her story and give it to Mike Brown's board, Cantor said. The only convincing that I had to do was to help her see that she was a victim of Mike Brown, not a willing participant. She continued to blame herself, as is typical of victims of abuse. On May 7, Brown posted a video, his first since December 17. I am very much aware of the fact that in the body of Christ now, there's a kind of mini-civil war over me, he said. Some of you are really for me. Some of you are really against me. I want to make an appeal to you. Please don't divide over me. Unite around Jesus instead.